Richmond and the state's eastern shore, where restrictions will remain in place another 2 weeks. After 5 p.m., hair salons in some parts of Maryland can reopen by appointment only. Manufacturers may resume operations, and non-essential stores can operate at 50% capacity, but not in Prince George's and Montgomery counties. They'll extend restrictions for the time being, as will D.C., where the stay-at-home order has been extended to June 8th. In Washington, Martin DeCaro, Bloomberg Daybreak.
All right, Martin, thank you. The Centers for Disease Control is issuing new guidance on returning to work. It outlines social distancing measures and how to check for coronavirus symptoms. Former Google CEO Eric Schmidt is leading a commission to revive New York's economy. He says business will be dramatically different as we emerge from the lockdown.
I'm concerned that without significant changes, people are not going to be able to work efficiently. They're not going to be able to go back to work, go to school, that sort of thing. We have to find ways of getting through the COVID crisis until a vaccine is available.
Schmidt spoke on Leadership Live with David Rubenstein, heard weekly on Bloomberg Television. He says local transportation and healthcare systems need to be improved and reimagined in the aftermath of the outbreak.
As China emerges from the virus, its economy is starting to bounce back. Industrial output for April showed an increase for the first time this year, and Bloomberg Daybreak Asia anchor Brian Curtis has more from Hong Kong.
Industrial production was up 3.9%. That shows that government stimulus is having an effect. But retail sales slid 7.5%, and that could mean that the public is embracing the reopening measures with a degree of caution. Fixed asset investment decreased, but was better than in the previous period. So plenty of downside risks here, which could be addressed next week at the NPC. In Hong Kong, Brian Curtis, Bloomberg Daybreak.
All right, Brian, thank you. Back here in the U.S., we're bracing for another round of downbeat data. April's reading for retail sales comes out at 8:30 a.m. Wall Street time. Here with more is Bloomberg Economics correspondent Michael McKee.
It's really only a question of how bad the numbers will be. J.P. Morgan Chase Institute reports average weekly household credit card spending plunged 40% last month from the prior year. Expect apparel sales down 51% in March to all but disappear. Gasoline sales will be awful. Not only weren't Americans driving, but gas prices collapsed. Restaurant sales will be minuscule, but food at home will be higher, and what other gains are reported would come from online retailers. Michael McKee, Bloomberg Daybreak.
Michael, thank you. S&P futures up 10 points this morning. Dow futures up 97. NASDAQ futures up 51. Straight ahead, the latest world and national news. And this is Bloomberg.
Okay, Karen, thanks very much. It is 5:07 on Wall Street. Let's bring in Michael Barr to get more details on the local response to the coronavirus. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning, Nathan. New York Governor Andrew Cuomo says a proposal in Congress could be the best way to help the states most affected by the coronavirus. The proposal would temporarily remove the $10,000 cap on state and local tax deductions, otherwise known as the SALT cap.
The House bill repeals the SALT tax change that was made in Washington about 3 years ago. And that tax change that they made cost New York State billions.
Cuomo says the states that were most hurt by SALT are the states that have the most pain from the COVID virus. New York is the first state to issue criteria concerning children and the coronavirus. It has issued guidelines for what symptoms healthcare providers should look for in kids who are suspected of having COVID-19. New York is investigating 110 reported cases and 3 deaths related to an inflammatory syndrome. President Trump says he intends to prepare the country for future pandemics by restocking the national stockpile. The president, while visiting a Pennsylvania medical equipment distributor, says that includes bringing critical manufacturing back to the U.S. from abroad. His comments came the same day a whistleblower testified that the Trump administration had failed to properly prepare for the current pandemic. The president is also trying to convince the public that it's time for states to reopen. He's calling on Pennsylvania's Democratic Governor Tom Wolf to open up the state.
You have to get your governor of Pennsylvania to start opening up a little bit. You have areas of Pennsylvania that are barely affected, and they want to keep them closed. Can't do that.
Presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden said that any voter who believes the sexual assault allegations against him shouldn't vote for him. Biden has denied Tara Reade's claim. Republican Senator Richard Burr is temporarily stepping down as chairman of the Intelligence Committee amid a federal investigation into whether he sold stocks as a result of secret briefings on the threat of the coronavirus pandemic. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell spoke to Fox News.
I think he did the right thing for the committee and for our Republican conference. I thank him for doing that, and at some point, obviously, I'll be naming a new chair.
Burr has denied any wrongdoing. Global news 24 hours a day on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg. Nathan.
Thanks, Michael. 5:09 on Wall Street. Time for the Bloomberg Sports Update. Good morning, John Stashar.
Good morning, Nathan. The Giants drafted cornerback DeAndre Baker in the first round of the 2019 draft. He started all of last season. Baker's now in trouble with the law in South Florida. So is Seattle cornerback Quinton Dunbar. Arrest warrants have been issued. 4 counts of felony armed robbery. The 2 are said to have stolen money and watches at a party. No comment yet from the Giants. If baseball does start its season in July, not every player may be happy about it or be part of it. Blake Snell of the Tampa Bay Rays.
Y'all got to understand, too, because y'all going to be like, bro, Blake, play for the love of the game, man. What's wrong with you, bro? Money should not be a thing. Bro, I'm risking my life. What do you mean it should not be a thing? It 100% should be a thing.
Snell, after winning the Cy Young Award, signed a 5-year, $15 million contract. So he would have made $10 million this year. That would have been cut in half since the first half of the season wasn't played. And since there'll be no fans, major loss of revenue. MLB wants to cut players' pay further. Snell would still make an awfully good wage. He did text to the Tampa Bay Times that he now realizes his comments appear to be greedy. 73-year-old Art Howe has coronavirus. He's in intensive care at a Houston hospital. Howe managed the Mets in 2003 and 2004, previously managed Houston and Oakland. 2 reasons to pay attention to Sunday's NASCAR race in Darlington. It's the first real sporting event in the U.S. in more than 2 months, and Ryan Newman is among the drivers. Newman was in a crash at Daytona 3 months ago, was in a medically induced coma. Miraculously, he walked out of the hospital 2 days later. John Stashauer, Bloomberg Sports. Nathan?
Appreciate it, John. Now, join us tonight for the Bloomberg Business of Sports show. We'll speak with the co-founder and chairman of the Professional Fighters League, Don Davis. The former senior AOL executive is also a founding partner in private equity fund Revolution Growth and a minority investor in the professional esports organization Team Liquid. You can catch that conversation tonight at 7 and tomorrow at 11 a.m. on Bloomberg Radio or subscribe to the Bloomberg Business of Sports podcast. Futures moving higher on this Friday morning. You're listening to Bloomberg Daybreak.
Imagine being denied an apartment because of your religion, or your race, or because you have children, or a disability.
It's so wrong. Yes, but who has the power to stop this?
You do. Each of us has the power. The law is on your side. It's illegal for landlords to discriminate because of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, disability, or familial status. If you suspect that you have experienced housing discrimination, file a complaint with HUD immediately so we can investigate it. Fair housing is your right.
Use it.
To learn more, visit HUD.gov/fairhousing. That's HUD.gov/fairhousing. Or call 1-800-669-9777. 1-800-669-9777. A public service message from HUD in partnership with the National Fair Housing Alliance.
Why do hedge funds and other alternative managers rely on Pershing for a highly personalized experience? Mark Alderati, a managing director at BNY Mellon's Pershing and head of Prime Services, explains.
In today's fast-paced environment, where the only constants are change and volatility, you need a prime broker who's both steady and agile, focused on supporting your needs so that you can focus on growing your business and producing results. Exceptional client service and advocating for our clients is at the core of what we do. Our award-winning high-touch team is just one of the benefits of working with BNY Mellon. We help alternative investment managers create great experiences for their clients. Whether it's customized financing, securities lending solutions, platform access, or outsourced trading, BNY Mellon's Pershing is a prime broker who's committed to this business and dedicated to meeting your evolving demands.
To learn more about the unique and industry-leading solutions for hedge funds and other alternative managers, visit Pershing.com. Pershing, LLC. Member FINRA, NYSE, SIPC.
Have you wanted to speak?
Oh, just there, Dave. Smashing. Great. Really? Night, Steve.
Yeah, see ya.
Built to take the big knocks. Samsung rugged devices. Easy to use, hard to break. Explore the Samsung rugged range.
This is a message from the government about the emergency measures to support the economy during the period of disruption caused by the coronavirus. To help you, your business, and your workers affected, you can apply for cash grants, business rate holidays, statutory sick pay relief packages, as well as the coronavirus job retention and self-employment income support schemes. For information, go to gov.uk/business-support now.
At George, we know there's nothing better than catching up with your mates. That's why we've invited Fern McCann over for a cuppa and a chat with some of her besties. Because staying in is the new going out, right? Join us and Fern over on our Instagram TV at Georgia Asda to get all the latest gossip, giggles and fashion tips. Sunday at 6 p.m.
Picture in your mind a stylish Audi with striking LED headlights, sporty alloy wheels, and some of our most advanced features, including a 10-inch digital cockpit and smart assistant systems like lane departure warning. Picture what that Audi looks like. Now think smaller. The Audi A1. It's not a small car, it's a small Audi. Visit audi.co.uk. Audi. Vorsprung durch Technik.
Here's Heidi Stroud-Watts.
Nick Coyle is the Beijing CEO of the China-Australia Chamber of Commerce in Beijing. He joins us now. This sort of deterioration of diplomatic relations and an uncertainty over the relationship has been going on for a few years now. Does this time feel different with the very quick escalation of barbs from Beijing over the past couple of weeks?
It's hard to put a precise, if you like, commentary around whether it's worse, better. I think at the moment, the focus for us has just got to be to ratchet down the tension as much as we can and allow both sides to come together and have a fulsome discussion around what the issues are and hopefully find some common ground and move forward. I mean, the relations between the two countries for our members and, of course, for a lot of businesses between Australia and China is very important. This has come out in a number of surveys that we've done over the years. So the last time we did a major survey of all of our members, both in China and back in Australia, it was actually highlighted as the top risk that Sino-Australian relations, top business risk for our members. So it goes to show that it's extremely important, but I don't want to oversell or get too involved in exactly what's happening at the moment. I think we need to get that an opportunity to work its way forward.
Hear more interviews like this one on Bloomberg Television, streaming live on Bloomberg.com and on the Bloomberg mobile app, or check your local cable listings. Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
And I'm Karen Moscow. European stocks are rising this morning along with U.S. stock index futures. And we check the markets every 15 minutes throughout the trading day on Bloomberg with S&P futures up about 8 points. Dow futures up 81. NASDAQ futures up 44. The DAX in Germany's up 1.8%. 10-year Treasury up 3/30 seconds, yield 0.61%. The yield on the 2-year 0.14%. NYMEX crude oil is up 2.5% or 68 cents at $28.24 a barrel. COMEX gold is up 0.2% or $3.50 at $17.4450 an ounce. The euro 1.0815 against the dollar. British pound 1.2205 and the yen's at 107.10. And the German economy shrank 2.2% in the first quarter, the most in more than a decade, offering an early flavor of the damage from the coronavirus outbreak. That's a Bloomberg Business Flash. Now here's Michael Barr with more on what's going on around the world. Michael, good morning.
Good morning, Karen. The worldwide death toll from the coronavirus pandemic exceeded the 300,000 threshold after reaching 200,000 just 3 weeks ago. Germany saw a steep drop in the number of new coronavirus cases. President Donald Trump says he intends to prepare the country for future pandemics by replenishing the national stockpile. He says that includes bringing critical manufacturing back to the U.S. from abroad. Democratic candidate Joe Biden says that if he wins the presidency, he will not use his power to pardon Donald Trump or stop any investigations of Trump and his associates. Biden also told MSNBC voters who believe the former Senate staffer who has accused him of sexually assaulting her in the early 1990s probably shouldn't cast their ballot for him in November. Global news 24 hours a day, on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg, powered by more than 2,700 journalists and analysts in more than 120 countries. I'm Michael Barr. This is Bloomberg. Nathan.
All right, Michael, thank you. It is 5:19 on Wall Street and live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studios. This is Bloomberg Daybreak. Michael Hewson is back with us this morning, Chief Market Analyst at CMC Markets. Great to talk with you this morning, Michael. We just heard Karen mention the dire economic data out of Germany this morning, adding to the grim news that we've gotten throughout the course of this pandemic. But markets have seemed to be looking past that. Do you expect that to continue?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the big uncertainty that investors have been wrestling with this week. On the one hand, you've got optimism over the easing of lockdown measures. We've seen that pretty much across Europe. But we also know, as you guys do in the United States, that the worst is yet to come. Because however weak the German economy was in the first quarter, and that number came in at minus 2.2%, it's going to be much, much worse as we go into Q2. For most of April, the economies of European economies have been locked down. And the economic data at the moment that we've seen come out has really been confined to just those PMIs. So we really don't know how bad the economic effects are likely to be until we actually start to see the data trickle down. Now, you in the US have seen very clear evidence of the economic hit in terms of 36 million jobless claims. We haven't really seen the impact on the unemployment data. We know it's going to be bad. The big question is, how bad will it be? So we've been chopping around for the past 2 or 3 weeks, strongly up 1 minute, strongly down the next, because investors don't really have a clear idea of how bad the economic hit is going to be. And on top of that, what type of fiscal response we're going to get from European authorities. So it's hard to say is the short answer to, or should I say, the long answer to a very precise question.
Well, you got to wonder how that choppiness could continue as we get ready for the retail sales figures, latest retail sales figures in the U.S. to come out, and for earnings next week from a lot of the big retail names that in many cases have been shut down for the last several weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at the March contraction in U.S. retail sales of 8.7. We can safely assume that that's going to be even worse. I think minus 12 is probably understating the economic impact. If you factor in car sales, they will have fallen off a cliff. I mean, over here in Europe, we saw UK car sales drop 95% year to date in April. And that's usually a fairly decent month for UK car sales. Fuel sales have fallen off a cliff as well. So I wouldn't be surprised to see a number of in the mid-teens for US retail sales. And as you say, Walmart, Target, they are all reporting their latest numbers next week. And while I think both retailers have taken significant steps to improve their interaction with customers, with Target basically Target staff taking their customers' goods out to their trunks and popping them in the trunks, I still think you're going to see a significant impact on the retail sales of both of those big retailers.
Yeah, and on top of the uncertainty surrounding the economic impact of a potential second wave, we have these renewed tensions now between the U.S. and China. I'd have to imagine that only exacerbates the uncertainty for investors looking into the second half here.
It certainly won't make them any better, but I would argue that there's a certain amount of optical illusions going on here. I think President Trump is playing to his base, and seeking to bash China verbally plays very well to his base. You have to remember that he's in a sort of a pre-election campaign mode at the moment. So China is very much in his crosshairs. At the same time, it would be very, very foolhardy of him to really ramp up the ante even further, given the fact that he needs the economy to rebound significantly if he is going to stand any chance of beating Joe Biden.
All right, in our last 30 seconds here, Michael, what's your view on where markets go from here, particularly into the second half?
I think the upside remains very, very difficult. I think we're at the top end of the recent range. I think we are going to struggle to go much higher from where we are at the moment. And I think further volatility with a slight bias towards the downside is probably where I think we will probably go.
All right. Thanks, as always, for joining us, Michael. We really appreciate it. Michael Hewson is Chief Market Analyst at CMC Markets, and looking at the markets right now, it's looking fairly risk-on this morning, with S&P futures higher by 6 points, Dow futures up 65, NASDAQ futures a gain of 36 points. Strong gains in European equity markets as well. The 10-year is up 3/32, so Treasuries catching a bid as well. The yield at 0.61% on a 10-year Treasury note. The yield on the 2-year is at 0.14%. Stay with us. You're listening to Bloomberg Daybreak.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Stock futures are rising as states begin to relax their COVID lockdowns. Dow futures are up 66 points. U.S.-China tensions are adding a note of caution to markets. President Trump said yesterday he does not want to talk to his Chinese counterpart, President Xi, right now. This after stocks rallied yesterday, recovering from morning losses, with financial stocks leading. The global cost of the coronavirus pandemic could reach as much as $8.8 trillion, or almost 10% of global gross domestic product. The Asian Development Bank says the final number will depend on how long the outbreak continues and the strength of government response. Open Table, the online restaurant reservation service, says 1 in every 4 U.S. restaurants will go out of business due to the coronavirus quarantines. Open Table says its reservations are down 95% from a year ago. John Metaxas, Bloomberg Business.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology, makes innovation happen. The university helped biomedical engineering professor Tara Alvarez launch a startup that may revolutionize vision therapy.
Our startup through NJIT is called Ocular Motor Technology. We create virtual reality vision therapy in a head-mounted display. So it's gaming, and basically we're sugarcoating the therapy so that children and young adolescents don't even realize they're doing therapy. To accomplish this, we need biomedical engineers, which are here on NJIT campus, computer scientists, artists, people that are into story development, and then we're collaborating with a lot of the large pediatric medical centers. This idea of a startup culture is extremely important to not just NJIT and the National Science Foundation, but also to the U.S. as a societal whole.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu.
Not completing high school is more of a...
Did you know that players of People's Postcode Lottery have raised over £500 million for charities and good causes? They've also won £63 million in prizes so far this year, and it could be your postcode next. Visit postcodelottery.co.uk/radio before midnight on the 21st of May to play in the June draws. PPL manage lotteries on behalf of good causes. 16 plus. Conditions apply. Play responsibly.
A half-price dream holiday, wouldn't want to miss that. A takeaway for free, wouldn't want to miss that. And 30 gigs data for just £10 a month on Smarty Mobile. You definitely don't want to miss that. Our Smarty SIM comes packed with 30 gigs of data and unlimited calls and texts for just £10 a month on a 1-month plan. That's why Smarty won Best Value SIM-only network in the U-Switch Mobile Awards 2020. Don't miss out. Search Smarty Mobile. Smarty. Simple, honest mobile. Smarty.co.uk.
Picture in your mind a stylish Audi with striking LED headlights, sporty alloy wheels, and some of our most